Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jerry Cooey, along with my trusty camera person today, Deborah Nelson, and we are attending the very somewhat, kind of, maybe, sort of public meeting on redistricting of the state of Florida. And so far we're hearing that we may not get much comment out of the speakers, the legislators, but we'll see how it works out. And this is a very important issue, and we hope you'll stay tuned in to see the results today. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jerry Cooey.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Thanks for joining us.
And the video that you just watched was the intro to the, I guess, say, closest to us, first redistricting meeting.
In Pensacola.
And
redistricting is when every 10 years there's a federal census, and once we get the results in and state by state, they have to redraw the political district lines,
right, to make it quote unquote fair.
Right, and that determines
each rep has to have so many people in their district. Each senator has to have so many people in their district, and I tell you.
And there are ways of drawing the lines where you can cut this neighborhood out and pull this neighborhood in and shuffle the voters to
help or hurt a candidate.
Exactly. It's called gerrymandering.
Gerrymandering. And the other thing in all of this is with amendments 5 and 6
last year
that is now
the Fair Districts Amendments.
The Fair District Amendments, which is the now embedded in the Florida Constitution. It says that you'll try to make the districts compact and contiguous, that you would use
natural boundaries,
known borders and things of that nature. I think Deborah and I both, and potentially you have too, because it's been in a lot of the other media, and I always try to be the kind of person that I wait till I see it with my own eyes.
Yeah.
Now, I had heard things like that the Senate President and the Speaker of the House had placed a gag order on all the elected officials.
It was a listening tour where they weren't supposed to answer any questions.
And I had heard things like, even though they say it's the most transparent in history, that they're really not doing anything. And we had heard that they wasn't going to answer any questions.
Well, they're holding meetings for quote-unquote the famous public input. But the concern is that then they'll go behind closed doors because the legislature is not subject to sunshine law, and they're in charge of drawing the new districts. And they'll draw the districts up, and nobody will know where or why they've done it till
it's too late.
Till just shortly before the election season, when people have to final qualify to run for office. And I mean, it could be literally days.
Now,
people won't even know what district they're in.
I wanted to go to this meeting and did my best to go to the meeting. With an open mind, understanding that some other reporters in the state, some other TV stations might have had a bone to pick with certain individuals. But folks, I'm just going to have to tell you everything that I've seen that's been reported in other sources of media, pretty close to true. They would only read off of a script. Don Gates had his script in front of him. He's the chairman of the redistricting. The incoming Speaker of the House, he made comments. His was directly off of a script. He had to keep looking down to make sure he said exactly the right words. It just, I'm just going to say it, folks. They can howl about it all they want to. They can claim transparency all they want to. But the bottom line is, those folks work for us, and the majority of the people that was in that meeting wanted to know, where are the maps that you have already potentially drawn in where our legislature thinks the district should be.
Well, and they said, oh, we're going to spend this time just getting public input, and several League of Women Voters speakers pointed out, well, it's your job, actually, to do this. This is your job, do it, and then we'll give you public input. Well, what it looks like is they're dilly-dallying for so long that by the time this stuff is finished, it's, who knows what district they're in if they want to run for office.
Well, and the other thing too, folks, look, they had a gaggle of legislators there, which I I'm thinking that probably Santa Rosa Week TV needs to do a public records request on hotel lodging
Yeah.
and liquor tabs that's run up in
Yeah.
this 26 county tour that they're going on. I'll tell you, I was completely disheartened.
They said in the beginning, oh, we're going to listen to you. There were 44 speakers, if I remember correctly. We'll listen to you. If there's time left over,
right,
you can come up and re-comment.
If there, and that was an important point to me, Deborah, because they said if there's time left over, additional things. So, folks, you're going to see a video where Deborah speaks, and I'll
come right out and say the meeting was pointless. It was clear the meeting was pointless. So I took the opportunity during the meeting to point out that the present gerrymandering problem has possibly produced all kinds of other cronyism, corruptionism type problem.
Right.
And I was going to go through and give examples, but I was cut off.
Deborah was doing a good job of pointing it all out, folks, which you'll see in the video. And the chairman didn't think that had to do anything to do with redistricting and cut her off. And then, of course, you'll see a video of me. Now, my main concern was, are they going to answer a question? Because to me, that's the heart of the matter. They work for me. Why
Right.
wouldn't they want to answer a question?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they want to tell me when the maps will be available? Why any question that somebody had to ask. So I tested it for you folks, and I asked a couple questions, and of course I got blank stares back, and but when I completed, I said I'll reserve the balance of my time, because Senator Gates had said if there's extra time, we'll entertain more comments, and so you can watch that video now.
Ms. Nelson, thanks a lot for being here, and you're recognized.
Thank you very much. I'm Deborah Nelson. I'm chair of the Santa Rosa Democrats. I also co-host Santa Rosa Week TV on Mediacom, Channel 27. I would just point out to you that currently the population of Democrats in the state versus the population of registered Republicans is not reflected in the makeup of Florida's House of Representatives and Florida Senate. And I would just suggest that perhaps there's political reasons for that, but then again, maybe you need to seriously consider that you have a gerrymandering problem in the state when you go about this redistricting process. What happens when you have gerrymandering present is that the populace is not accurately represented in their political bodies, the political bodies that belong to them. When you have that problem, it leads to things like cronyism. It leads to special interests being perhaps represented a little more heavily than the people. It leads to corruption. We've certainly seen indications of corruption problems coming out of Tallahassee in recent years. We've had I would call a disastrous legislative session this year. We've had a legislative session that I don't believe in any way, shape, or form reflects the wants and needs of the Florida population. You all passed SB 430, which will just about guarantee to raise homeowner insurance policy rates, at least by double over the next 5 years. I don't believe any Floridian wanted you to do that, and you did it anyway. To me, it represents a problem of special interest influence. Maybe that's related to gerrymandering, maybe it isn't. You've just about destroyed growth management processes in the state.
Ms. Nelson, I apologize for interrupting. Because today's hearing is about redistricting, if you could narrow your comments to redistricting, we'd be delighted to hear from you about these other issues, and you're welcome to come to the legislative delegation meeting that will be a public meeting and discuss those, or we'll provide other venues. But today, just to respect the other people who are behind you who wish to speak, could you confine your comments to the purpose of the hearing today, please?
I appreciate that, my point was that those problems do point to the gerrymandering situation, but I'll go ahead and move on. I would just ask you all if you could answer at least, do you have any idea of a time frame when you think this process is going to be finished, as far as how far in advance of the 2012 elections people are going to know where the districts are? Do y'all have any plan for that, or any idea when that's going to happen?
Well, Ms. Nelson, we have a website that lists the schedule It is flsenate.gov/redistricting. You can go to that and see the schedule, but also Speaker Weatherford will remark at the end of the hearing to our timeline in case you didn't hear his comments at the beginning.
Do you have a specific date?
Ma'am, the dates depend upon when the hearings are concluded, when bills are introduced. Any member of the legislature can introduce a bill at any time. But any other comments you have, ma'am?
Well, I would just, again, just like other speakers have done, just urge you to be very transparent with this process. I think there's a lot of mistrust of the current sitting legislature, and I think that, you know, it's not going to help you any if you're behind closed doors making this happen. So please, you know, just make sure people know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nelson, for being here and for your comments. Jerry Cui, who is perhaps your co-host on Santa Rosa League TV. And then following Mr. Cui, Dr. Calvin Avart, who is with the Escambia, Pensacola Human Relationship Commission. Mr. Cui, you're recognized. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Been a few things swirling, so I would like to get, and Ms. Nelson asked a question, and she didn't get an answer. So let me just ask what a lot of people are wanting to know. Is anybody here going to answer a question today? With the cameras rolling?
I'm sorry, sir?
Will any question be answered by any of our elected officials today? Because that seems to be a real concern for the citizens of the state of Florida.
Well, let's spike that rumor right now. At the end of this hearing, assuming everyone in the public has the opportunity to speak, we'll invite any member of this committee to make any comment, answer any question that has come up today if they'd like, or to offer any proposal they'd like. But now we'd love to hear your testimony, sir. We are now up to 44 individuals, so I'm going to have to ask you to, if you can, be as succinct as you possibly are able to be.
Well, again, I will certainly push forward the idea that this needs to be transparent, but apparently what we're hearing is true. Although you say questions will be answered, you've been asked a question already, and you really didn't answer it, you just put it off. I'd like to second the thought that it's too late in the process. I see it as real gamesmanship again. We really won't know until late in next year, and I just really encourage this committee to reconsider that immediately and not drag it out so long. How are we as voters going to, how's anybody going to prepare a campaign? How is anybody going to know who's running? I just have some real doubts in this whole process. I realize it appears to be transparent. I will tell you my perception is that, and some of the things that we're hearing now, that questions don't get answered, there's no maps available. I think it's kind of ridiculous that the people that are going to be proposing this haven't furnished a map yet. And I would also like to second the thought that I don't appreciate districts that are split north and south. I want you to truly consider that, and I'll reserve any additional time in case somebody will answer a question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cui.
Oh, thank you.
Jerry Cui, Santa Rosa Week TV.
We'll do it the next meeting. That's a very good suggestion.
And Senator Gates, I'd like to hear you to hear this question too. You clearly said if we finished before 1 o'clock, there was going to be allowed additional input from the public. You said that in the beginning. No, sir, you did not.
Yeah, well,
you did not give the opportunity. Is there any more? Is there anything else to be said?
Sir, I asked.
You adjourned the meeting.
I asked if there was anybody who would like to speak who hadn't had the opportunity. Now, you may have wanted to come up and speak again, but you'll have that opportunity if you'd like to go to another hearing. We wanted to make sure every member of the public had an opportunity to speak. We asked people at the end of the hearing, was there anybody who didn't get a chance to speak? And there was nobody else who wanted to speak. So therefore, we then went to the members, asked if they had any questions, any comments. You heard what was said by the speaker designate, and at the end of the meeting, by Senate rules and House rules, we then rise. Thanks for being here today.
If I have one additional. And as you see, I said I'll reserve my time if there's any left. So the 44 speakers spoke. Senator Gates said, is there anybody who didn't sign up? If you would like to speak, come forward. Nobody else raised their hand. he looked to his right and to his left to the members of the Redistricting Committee, whom are all elected House members and Senate members of the state of Florida. He asked them, did they want to make a statement? And of course, we knew they wasn't going to make a statement, so they all sat there and looked at us like we were dumb.
Yeah.
And I was in the front row, folks. I've got my hand up, white piece of paper in my hand, flagging at Senator Gates, at which time he announced, by Senate rules, this meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.
And there was 30 minutes left. And let me assure you that I just believe they work for me. I just believe when I've paid their mileage and I've paid their lunch and I've paid for their snacks and I pay their salary and I pay their benefits and I pay their health care and I pay their dental bill and they get to go to all kind of parties that I don't get invited to, I think the least that any of them can do is stand there like a man and answer a question. Now, I took offense to what Senator Gates had to say, the way he finished the meeting. So I looked at Deborah and I said, Deborah, grab the camera. I think I'm feeling a question coming on for Senator Gates. And so you'll see in the video, I walked up to the counter. Of course, he was trying to ignore me, or trying to ignore both of us. Matter of fact, for the record, folks, we were the only member of the media that I know of that asked a question, or tried to ask a question. And so I just asked him point blank. I said, you know, Senator Gates, in all fairness, you know, you said any time it was left over, you'd entertain some additional comments, and you've shut it down. And of course, he exactly repeated what he had said before, and you know, by Senate rules, you know, the meeting's adjourned, and told me to thank me for my attendance. Well, I tell you what, Senator Gates, you may get away with some of that behavior with some people. You're not going to get away with it with Santa Rosa Week TV. I don't appreciate it. The people that were standing around watching that scene didn't appreciate it. I think it was uncalled for, and to be quite honest with you, your true colors came shining out. I have a better perspective of you now. The way you treated me, the taxpayer, the folks that pay your salary, the folks that put you in office, I have a clearer understanding of what you think about us now. And the fact that they wouldn't even answer a question. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We're here for you.
Right.
We want to listen to you. And folks, the bottom line in all of this is, it's an absolute waste of time. It is just one more thing where your tax dollars are being chunked down a hole. All the money and expense that it's going to take to haul the cameras around and haul the aides around and haul the elected officials around, it's stupid.
Well, it's stupid and it's killing time. So that when they come up to the end, there's not going to be any time for people to prepare to run for office, and it's going to inure to the benefit of incumbents.
Exactly. And look, folks, as you know, watching this TV show, I have always focused my energies within a 2-county area, maybe a little bit into a 3-county area. This last year and now, I have tried to, you know, see how things go in Tallahassee, and I tell you, I am absolutely sick to my stomach from what I saw at that meeting. It was pitiful. They ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah. And they had so many people speak and say the same thing. You know, why aren't you doing your job?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a start. I will guarantee you we'll be talking about more about redistricting.
Yeah, it'll come up again.
But we also, I had an exchange at the Board of County Commissioner meeting this week, and look, I've said it before. Deborah said it. We've pointed it out over and over and over and over. Our current model of economic development's not working. Recently, with great fanfare, we're going to get 500 more jobs in Santa Rosa County.
Right.
And then we saw what actually happened was, once again, those 500 jobs did not materialize, just like the 800 jobs previously, just like the 800 jobs previously, just like the 300 jobs previously. Those 500 jobs never appeared. And then we find out we're going to lose the 500 that's here.
Yeah.
Well,
you went up and you pointed out that there's now some federal interest in some meetings that happened at Team Santa Rosa.
Right.
And you were refuted by one of our county commissioners.
Well, you know, look, I don't know, folks. You think myself and Commissioner Don Salter agree on anything?
We don't hear from him much anymore.
I don't think we're going to agree, but of course I made my comments and I pointed out the Pullum property purchase, the $200,000 no-cut contract, no-bid contract for the aviation, all the land we bought that we're not doing anything with, and the millions of dollars worth of salaries, and now we're getting to a point where we're being looked at from the outside, and my point was, it's time to reevaluate here.
Yeah.
Before this gets any uglier, it's time to reevaluate.
But his remarks to you were, well, there's, they've never broken the law. You know, it's they've never done anything wrong. The state attorney looked into it, and he didn't find anything.
Yeah,
we have the report from the state attorney.
That was what Commissioner Don Salter said. He said the state attorney office didn't find anything wrong. His point was they were completely cleared of all wrongdoing.
Not quite.
While we find that Team Santa Rosa did not comply with Sunshine Law, we find that there is insufficient evidence to warrant criminal prosecution. Now, here's the difference, folks. Just because Bill Eddins, the so-called state attorney of District 1, didn't send anybody to prison, doesn't mean you wasn't guilty of something.
We find that Team Santa Rosa did not comply with the Sunshine Law. This is paragraph 3 of this, page 3 of this report from the state attorney's office. The previous paragraph, first sentence is, we have received the applicable law and determined that the Florida Sunshine Law is applicable to Team Santa Rosa.
Okay, so let me.
They were claiming they weren't.
Let me help you. Let me help you out, Commissioner Salter. Nobody went to prison, but Team Santa Rosa violated the law on open records. They violated the law on open meetings.
Sunshine Law. This was
Sunshine Law.
Meetings.
So I don't want to hear any of your little grandiose speeches that you want to give about you, Team Santa Rosa, or nobody did anything wrong. Folks, this is the report from the state attorney's office. Now, I can't help it if we have a weak state attorney that doesn't want to do things right. I can't help that.
That was his decision not to move further with that.
That was his personal decision.
There were many years of the law being broken, though.
Absolutely. Years and years and years.
And the problem is there were things that happened when behind closed doors, which was a violation of the law, that are now coming back to bite them.
Absolutely. And I think that the most important thing of it all is, folks, Jerry and Deborah, we've been right there all along. Please stop this. Please stop this. This is a problem. This is not good that they're doing this. So I will say this in the final word. We're going to have to end the show. But the final word is, one commissioner objected to what I had to say. 4 commissioners kept very quiet, and the county commission ended. My hope is that 3 of those 5 county commissioners will see the wisdom in ending this 11-year experiment that is a failure.
Well, I'm sure we'll be hearing more about it in the future.
Absolutely. I'm Jerry Cooey.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Thanks for watching. Good night.
I will have to say that I was completely taken back that now I find out that the FBI has subpoenaed records from Team Santa Rosa. Certainly I've heard the explanation of why they subpoenaed those records. A reporter who has requested to see all those documents, Bo Hodai, sent me one of the things that was subpoenaed, and where we have the entire board of Team Santa Rosa. And mind you, this is before the state attorney's office said you had to have open meetings and open records. But here they are all working. Don't tell anybody what we're doing over here. That's very disconcerting to me as a citizen to see this kind of stuff. Along with the documents that he's obtained so far is there was a meeting at night over there that wasn't noticed to the public. It wasn't open to the public, where Senator Gates was there. Apparently, Representative Sampson was there. Former Commissioner Gooden was there, and I understand maybe some staff members were there. I can tell by how the FBI has been swinging subpoenas all over the place. I don't think it's over with. I've laid out just a few of the things, a few of my concerns. There's many more, but when you see that your county has been issued a subpoena by the FBI, I think it's time for the elected board members of Santa Rosa County to take this into consideration, and maybe it's time to go another route before it gets to a point where we can't pull it back anymore. And I appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you. Chairman, Commissioner Salton.
This is probably not the forum to do this, but the goal of Team Santa Rosa and the 5 commissioners, that's to create jobs for our citizens. And I think with the economy that we've been dealt over the last 4 or 5 years, we have done that as well as any county in the state of Florida, possibly across the country. We can help who the FBI issues subpoenas to. That's their job, is try to get to the bottom of things. So just because somebody receives a subpoena, that does not mean that you're guilty of anything. Too often, especially nowadays, by some individuals, they work hard to make government look corrupt. Talking about don't want my county to be embarrassed. We have some citizens in this county who work diligently to get before the television cameras, in the newspapers, to make statements that are not founded and that are not true. If they're concerned about not us embarrassing their county, they need to probably should check their own back door on this. A couple years ago, all kind of allegations made to the state attorney's office about this and that. None of that was ever founded to be true. I'd like for somebody to put a cost on. How much does it cost the average taxpayer when all these false allegations are made? I agree, we don't want this county embarrassed. I would encourage all of our citizens to find ways not to embarrass it and work with us to create jobs for our citizens. That's all of our jobs. Thank you.